Hey, I'm Brandon Coons, and this is my documentary on neo-imperialism. I want to start this off by asking you all a question. I want you guys right now to pause this video and see where your shirt's made from. Just go ahead, have a friend look at your tag. I'll stop. I'll wait. Okay, now that you guys have checked, I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that about 85-90% of you guys' shirts is not made in USA where we live, okay? I'm going to guess that it's made in somewhere like Cambodia, Bangladesh, the Philippines, China, and actually it was probably made in a sweatshop somewhere where the workers were paid terrible money, working in these awful conditions that most of you probably didn't know until just now. What I did for my project is I researched economic neo-imperialism, which is basically modern day imperialism in the economic side of the world, so big corporations and money and all of this stuff. So neo-imperialism is basically modern day imperialism. It's imperialism that happens in our today's society. And I thought it was very interesting because when you think of imperialism, you think of kind of like past tense and imperialism back with countries taking over other countries and smaller countries and Hitler taking over these places. And it was kind of interesting to find out that modern day imperialism still happens. So what I researched was large companies imperializing and taking over all of these small sweatshops and forcing workers to do all of this work in smaller third world countries like Bangladesh and Cambodia. So I researched H&M. Particularly, I did H&M and Gap and Walmart, but specifically I did H&M sweatshops in Bangladesh. I found it was really interesting because in 2013, H&M sweatshop burned down in in Bangladesh, and over 1,000 workers died, which was insane. It made this huge outcry, and it was in the public eye about, oh, these terrible conditions and this and that. So H&M actually signed this peace treaty basically with sorry, it's blanking my mind for a second. They signed a peace treaty with the Human Rights Watch. They signed this peace treaty with the Human Rights Watch saying that we're going to improve all of these and we're going to have good working conditions and fire escapes and all this stuff. And 4 years later, it still hasn't done anything, and there are little to no changes, which I found was just crazy. So I did a lot of my research on that. That's kind of the background history to all of this. So what I'm going to do for the main part of this documentary, I'm going to go to Triangle, to their H&M store, and I'm going to interview some workers and kind of ask them some questions that are probably going to be a little awkward because they really know how to answer them if my speculations are correct. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll keep you guys updated. So this could get interesting. Hey, so I'm back keeping you updated, and I went down to H&M to interview their workers, and I asked 6 of their workers if they could answer the questions, and all of them said no. So I think that in and of itself really speaks to the whole kind of sensitivity of the topic and what really goes on there. So I think that's kind of a big part of that really displays that they won't even answer the questions. So anyways, I went to Schweiker and asked him what to do, so he said to interview the shoppers. So I went to ask the shoppers. I went after football practice, so only 7 or 8 people left the store. I asked all of them and they all said no. So I have to get 3 interviews of people who will agree to it. So I'm going to go find 3 people to agree to it and see how they feel about it. But I think that really just kind of speaks layers, speaks levels as to why and how the H&M workers there wouldn't even answer the questions or the shoppers. So that's a big part. So I'm going to go get these interviews and you guys stay tuned. I'm here with Jim, and he has agreed to do this video interview with me, so we're going to go ahead and get going. Question number 1. Do you shop at H&M, Gap, or Walmart for your clothes? If so, how often?
Occasionally, possibly once or twice a year.
Okay. Do you know where the clothes you buy from these stores are made?
Generally, not specifically, but generally, I know most of the clothing that's purchased in America is often made from China.
Okay. Do you know what neo-imperialism is?
I know what imperialism is, and neo generally means new. So new imperialism. Not really sure what that refers to.
It's close. Neo-imperialism is considered like modern day imperialism. So this kind of ties into the next question. Did you know that large corporations like H&M, Walmart, and Gap imperialize small third world countries like Bangladesh and Cambodia in order to make cheap, affordable clothes?
Wow, that's a lot right there. So I don't know that I would agree that they take advantage of those countries at all. I mean, I think most companies in America would like to purchase and make things in America, right? But the corporate tax in America is 35% roughly, which is the highest in the world. So therefore, the corporations can't make money by using labor in the United States, so they're forced to look elsewhere. So they go to countries like India or China or elsewhere.
That also kind of ties into the next question. See, so in 2013, a building collapse in Bangladesh killed 1,127 garment workers, creating an international outcry about the human toll of making cheap, fast fashion, is what they're called, clothes for wealthy nations like the U.S. This was the building that collapsed was an H&M sweatshop, and the reason it collapsed and there were so many lives lost is because it lacked basic working conditions such as fire escapes. And like you were saying with how they have to get outsourced and stuff with the working, these workers on average were paid about 13 cents an hour. And what my question is about that is kind of, do you feel like this is okay? Do you think that there should be any changes to the treatment or pay of these workers by the companies? And if you do think that there should be changes, what changes would you suggest?
Well, I don't think, my personal opinion is, I don't think it's the responsibility of the companies who are purchasing goods in the countries, right? The governments of those countries allowed those buildings to be built, right? So let's talk, why don't we have a conversation on the building codes within India or Bangladesh, right? It's easy to say that it was America's fault or these corporations' fault because they were paying people cheaply. But in my mind, you go back to the labor laws of each of those countries. At the end of the day, those countries are allowing those people to work at that wage, right? And so, once again, you turn back and these companies are looking to purchase products at the lowest possible price so they can make a profit in America because their own corporate tax rate is so bad. So I don't necessarily place blame on the companies. I place as much blame on the governmental agencies and the fact that they don't regulate either the workers, the pay of workers, or the facilities which they work.
Okay. So one of the things, after this incident, H&M, along with Gap and Walmart, signed an act with the Human Rights Watch to basically say that they'd revise their buildings because there was lots of stuff about, oh, well, your building doesn't have the basic things and the basic fundamentals, kind of like legal stuff that it needs, which is why a lot of these laws were lost. So they said in 2013 that they'd revise their buildings and equip them with proper working conditions like fire escapes. And since 2013, there have been little to no changes in these large companies with their sweatshops in Bangladesh and Cambodia, a lot with H&M and Gap, which I did some of my research on. So how do you feel about this? Do you feel like there should be changes to this, or do you feel like this is okay and that it's the government their's fault, or what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, I would think that if a company made an agreement to help improve the conditions, they should stick by it. Now, Human Rights Watch, I'm not familiar with them. Is that an American company or an American activist group? Is it a national or a worldwide activist group?
It's worldwide.
It's worldwide. Did they have an actual contract in place with the companies?
Yeah, they signed. I don't have. It was more of a treaty. I don't have the actual name of the treaty on here. It was in my works cited on my bibliography, but they signed, like, it was almost like a pact, kind of like a treaty with all three of them, because they were all in the same general area.
Well, and that sounds actually a lot like a lot of governmental treaties that get made between companies or between countries. They sign agreements, but if there's no real governance or way to keep an eye on the conditions, a lot of times countries, and in this case companies, can break them without any kind of ramification.
Okay. So after knowing all this new information, has your opinion on large apparel companies such as H&M and Gap and Walmart changed? Now that you know this, will you stop shopping at these companies? Did you know this beforehand, or is this all new to you, or what's your take on that?
So it's not uncommon. No, I am familiar with the fact that there are some countries that allow their workers to work at a really very, very almost ridiculously reduced rate, right? Will it prevent me from purchasing products at those companies? Probably not, because I think, number one, at the end of the day, it's probably not illegal, because if it was illegal, there would be some form of illegal lawsuit against those companies, right? So it goes back to my earlier comments that it's easy to take a angle that says the suffering by these people in these sweatshops and these factories, that it's these companies' fault, and that's not necessarily always the case. So I would say it probably wouldn't alter my buying habits, and I still prefer to buy things from America when I can. But like everything else, things are cost and price conscious.
Okay. So, kind of tying into what you said about being legal and stuff, and if it would be brought to the public eye, do you feel that the public should be informed of this before purchasing their clothes from these stores? Because I know a lot of people would not really necessarily know where their clothes are made from and all of this stuff, and where they come from, and the true like work conditions behind them. So, how do you feel on that? Do you feel that there should be kind of like a notice almost of where their clothes are made, or if it's how it is now?
Not at all, because it's not just the clothing industry. It's the same in the shoe industry. Nike has used sweatshops for years, right? And they've gotten a lot of bad press over the years too. So and that's just one of many companies. China and India make hundreds of different kinds of industrial products, right? From products to tools to clothing, to toys, to you name it, right? And so it's not, this challenge, this problem is not just separate for clothing, it crosses all industries. And so unless you address the overall problem of what's causing companies to go and try to seek the cheapest labor and the cheapest products they can find, it's going to be hard to solve it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Jim. That was very helpful, and I appreciate your time tonight.
You bet. I hope you get an A.
I hope I do too. Thank you.